Okay. Dark Side Radio, Blackout the Rebel himself. I'm interviewing one of Southside's very own, Queens finest. We got
your boy Rome, aka the last of the greats. That's what I do, man. New York City, Queens, get the money. It's for y'all, man.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So, you being from Queens, what is like the influence? What's the climate like over there?
What's crazy was I was originally born in the city, so I was born in Beth Israel Hospital, Midtown Manhattan, and I didn't end up moving to Queens until 2013, and I had before that I didn't even really know anything about Queens, never really did anything because I was living in Washington Heights, so I knew Harlem, Uptown, the Heights, you know what I mean?
Okay.
That was what I knew, and so I ended up moving to Queens. And when I moved to Queens, it was a whole nother vibe, and it was like, okay, yeah, I could really call this place home. But the journey before that was a lot crazier because I moved to the West Coast at a young age. So I was born out here, and what's crazy was originally I was born into money. So like when I was born, my father had his own air freight company. So we had a house in Glen Cove, Long Island. You know what I mean? And
okay.
So my father was making money. We were set, but that wasn't the end. That wasn't the end of my story. I wasn't meant to be a silver spoon. You know what I mean? So
right.
So my mother, she sang, and she wanted to pursue her singing, and so we moved to the West Coast because she wanted to move to Vegas. Because back then you get in casinos, you doing shows. That was
right.
the move. So when it didn't work out, we ended up just kind of settling out there. And I would go back to New York pretty much every summer. We would come back and visit the family and come back. And then around, I would say maybe 98, that's when my mom had my first brother. And we came back to New York. We was living in the Bronx. We was living on East Gun Hill, and we was living in the Bronx. But all we did was rest our heads out here. And she wanted my brother to have a relationship with his dad. So we ended up moving back to the West Coast, back to Vegas. And then so every year when I would get a chance, summers, I come back home. And New York was always in my heart, you know what I mean? So it's like I always remember where I came from. And when I would say 2007, I came out here, and it was like, man, I need to be back. I need to be back out here. And I came back. I went back to the West Coast, finished school, and started just working my way in life. You know what I mean? I was 17, and I would say 2008, I hit 18. I started working. I started, making my own money, gaining my own independence. By the time I was 19, I moved out and was just living on my own and just figuring things out. But one of my main life goals was to always get back to New York. I didn't know how I was gonna do it. I didn't know when. All I knew was like I just wanted to make it happen. I would always tell people, I'm going back to New York, and I always had that mindset. I always had that type of that New York state of mind was always there. Right. And so 2011 comes, and I had some vacation time from my job, and I came back to just visit. I came back in October 2011, and I came back for like 2 weeks, and I just caught a serious vibe, and was like, yo, I knew when I got back on that plane, I'm like, I'm coming back home. And I had a lot of shit to arrange because I had my own place. I had a girl I was with that I had been with for a few years. I had a job. I was making good money. I had a big apartment, all of these things. So when I started making that move, I told my girl, we was in my bathroom. She was in my room, and I had a bathroom in my room, and I told her, I'm like, she's like, you've been real distant lately, and I'm like, what's going on? I said, I just got a lot on my mind. She's like, well, what are you thinking about? And I told her, I think I'm moving back. I'm going back to New York. And she was like, I felt it, and I just knew, like, even though I knew it was gonna break people's hearts, even though I knew I was gonna leave a lot of people behind, friends, family, I knew that it was what I wanted to do. And so I started, for the next 10 months, I just started making preparations. I quit my job. I started saving up money. I sold my car. I sold the furniture in my place. When my lease was up in June of 2012, I wasn't renewing my lease, and I knew I wasn't. And so I stayed with her for a couple months so I could save up. and made some calls with some family members out here, and I got back on the plane with $1,200 in a dream. And when I came back out, I like I said, I knew that it was for good. And what's crazy was my mother and my girl at the time, we all came out together because we all had the opportunity to come out, but they bought a round trip ticket. I had a one way, so like while everybody was hyped, there was parts where I was like, I'd be sitting down in the room with the family, and I'd be looking out the window, and I'd be like, damn, I'm here, I'm staying, you know, so because I wanted to prove to myself that I can make it in the concrete jungle, because you always hear people say, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. So I wanted to prove to myself that I can make it, and I could prove all the people wrong, all the people that told me I was crazy for leaving my job, making $15 an hour, working in a union, and having, you know, a apartment with a master bedroom and a huge, you know, walk-in closet. Those were material things. Those didn't mean nothing to me. I wasn't fulfilled in my life. I wasn't recording no music. I had a couple videos on YouTube, but I wasn't in the studio. There were no type of, you know, ciphers that I can jump in and just kind of build myself up with other, you know, talented artists. There was no really competitiveness. And so it was like, I'm not where I want to be at. So when I came back, it was like, all right, here we go. And so different things happened. I was supposed to stay with one of my uncles, and the game plan was to work and record at night, get in the studio, but he couldn't fulfill his part, and I had to end up staying with one of my other uncles in Washington Heights. And what was supposed to be 2 weeks turned into 6 months. And I through that 6 months, I was trying to just find a job, and and nobody wanted to hire me because I was working in the grocery store for 4 years. So I didn't have retail experience and everything, and so I was trying to make a transition. Nobody wanted to hire me. Nobody wanted to give me a shot. And because making a transition from living in the West Coast to coming back to the East Coast, I didn't have the type of clothing for the winter time. So I'm out freezing. I'm walking down, you know, because my money is slowly starting to deplete, and I'm walking down from 158th and Riverside all the way to Times Square just so I can save some money in my pocket. Sheesh. I'm walking up and down, and anybody that know the Heights, y'all know the Heights is like a roller coaster. You walk up, you walk down, and so it's just nothing but hills. And so I'm walking up and down in the freezing cold, just trying to just push through and prevail. And shit started getting hard where it got to the point where I had $137 in my account. I remember a night I called up, and what was crazy was Hurricane Sandy was approaching. So I'm thinking, damn, like, the world is against me. Here I am, I'm trying to make do, like, you know, my game plan ain't going correctly. I'm pretty much all out of money. And now the biggest hurricane that's supposed to hit New York is about to come. And so it's like, I might have to go back. And I started thinking, I'm like, damn, I really might have to go back. But I couldn't live with that sense of failure. Like I couldn't face that. I couldn't live with that. And I was like, there's no way I'm going back. I don't care if I have to leave my clothes here and sleep on the train at night and look for a job during the day. Like, I can't leave. I'm here. There is no turning back. And that night we had a crazy snowstorm. I checked my account. I got $137 in my account. And it was getting so bad to the point where I was eating lunch meat and Doritos for 30 days straight. That was my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Blue Ranch Doritos and, you know what I'm saying, the Hillshire Farms lunch meat. That was it. That's all I could afford. I had to stretch my money. And I was getting ready to leave. My uncle's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, I need to go. He's like, but it's a crazy storm. I'm like, that's why I need to go. I need to get this food. I need to get what I could get so that I can have something. And I go to what used to be Pathmark on 145th and 8th. And I go down there, go get my stuff, and I'm standing in the snow, freezing, waiting for the bus to come, and I overhear this lady talking about her son getting a job for some construction, and something told me, that voice in my head said, ask her what she's talking about. So when she got off the phone, I looked over to her and I said, Miss, I don't mean to be nosy, but I overheard you talking about some work. Do you know about some work? And she said, yeah. And she gave me the information on 125 Broad Street. And it was this building, and they needed people to help with the demolition and everything. So she said, be there at 7 in the morning. So I went home. I ate my lunch meat, my Doritos. I went to sleep at like 9:45. I woke up at 5 in the morning. Got on, you know, I took a little bit of that 37 of it was probably like 115 by then, because you know how expensive shit is out in New York.
True. Very true.
But I took a little bit of money out, put it on the card, went down there. I used Google Maps to find it. I'll go to the place, and I saw a little interest that like led to, I guess, the basement of the building. I go down, I see all these people with hard hats and all these other people grabbing stuff. So I asked this guy I seen with a hard hat, I'm like, hey, is there some work here, like for Hurricane Sandy? He said, yeah, go to that table and grab a hard hat. You start right now. And I was working from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 10 days straight. And 10 days later, I had $1,100 in my account. And I was back on my feet. And so things started to slowly change. My ex and I, we decided to try to work something out. And so when that happened, that's when that whole moving to Queens, we was looking for a place. A place was available in Queens, and we got there, and we made that move to Queens. Like I said, didn't know nothing about it. Had no idea. I remember the first time I was riding out, I was riding on the Q5 coming down Merritt Boulevard, and I just remember it was a cop car posted on every corner. I'm like, yo, what the fuck did I just get
that's Queens for you.
I'm like, yo, there's like literally a cop car and 2 cops standing on every single block, and I'm like, yo, I gotta get the fuck out of here, because this is crazy. And I'm coming from Harlem, I'm coming from Washington Heights, but I had, you know how it is in New York, they always say, you know, if you don't know the neighborhood, you gotta be careful. You can't just be creeping through, you know, so you gotta be on your toes. So I was worried, but I got there, I got acclimated, and got a new job, started working, and just started making my moves. And that's how, you know, I've been living in Queens ever since, and been grinding, just doing everything. Queens just became part of who I am. I'm a Queens nigga now, you know what I mean? So,
okay, that's what's up.
Yeah.
All right, so you mentioned earlier that your mother, she was a singer.
Yeah.
How did that affect your music career? Was she supportive? Like, did you get inspiration from like the way she was singing? Is that also a part of like the type of music that you're doing?
What's crazy is it's in my bloodline. Like, and I didn't even really know until as I got older. But my grandmother was a singer, still is. My grandmother is sang with Ray Charles and, you know, B.B. King. And I mean, and I'm not even, you know, for everybody, all the old heads, forgive me, because I'm not, you know, I don't know all the names, but she sang with the greats. My grandmother, and what's crazy is my grandmother doesn't even know she has grandchildren. Wow. You know? So my grandmother, because my grandmother didn't raise my mother, my aunt raised my mother. And so, but my grandmother was a singer, she sang with the greats. And then my mom came up, my mom sang with the first rap group, Sugar Hill Gang. You know what I'm saying? So my mom sang for different people. My mom has music on YouTube right now. You know, so she sang, and she was out making moves. And so when I was younger, my mom, you know, she pushed me all up and down the New York City streets, and she would put headphones on me. And she said the first time she put headphones on me, she saw that my eyes lit up. And she said it was just like I just knew that music was part of you, but it was always part of our bloodline. And, you know, coming up as a 90s baby, you come up in the rap era. But I wasn't allowed to listen to rap growing up. So the first rapper I was allowed to listen to was Tupac. And so that's what I grew up listening to, was Tupac. She had a greatest hit CD from Tupac. So it had all his greatest hits, and I used to listen to that. And then when DMX came out and started getting big, I started listening to DMX and Eminem. So that's like the first 3 rappers I was allowed to listen to. And then after that, that's when Ludacris came into the game and T.I., so I just started catching on. But as far as with her, like, I knew it was in my blood because I used to have the old Michael Jackson tapes, and I would watch, you know, Michael Jackson videos and be like dancing, and she was like, I could see it's just part of you. But I think just growing up in that new era of rap, I just became, you know, more drawn to the rapping. But I found out that music was just always in my blood, and at 12 years old, that's when I discovered it, and that's when I decided to take it seriously. And at first, my mother was blunt with me. She didn't think I had any talent, and she thought that I had, you know, I didn't have it. But she was supportive in the fact that just keep getting better, and I kept going at it. I kept persevering. I kept just always trying to take it to the next level. And as I kept doing that, she started to see that I was getting better and better and taking it more seriously. And now she's like my biggest supporter. She calls me all the time asking me what it is that I have going on. Oh, I just checked your link that you sent me, and I see you got this many views. And sometimes she called me up and let me know something I ain't even know. I released a song not too long ago called Walk the Walk, and it has almost 20,000 streams right now on SoundCloud. But back when it was almost at 10, I fell asleep one night. She called me the next morning. She was like, "You know how many streams you got?" When I last looked, it was 10,000 now, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's at 13,000 now." You know, so she's definitely a huge fan. My father too. He supports what I do because at the same time they know I'm independent. They know I'm grinding, and they know that I'm focused. You know, I'm not out here just trying to be just another rapper. This is what I do. I bleed this. You know what I mean? It's in my bloodline.
All right. Okay. Now, another sensitive subject. You said your mother and your girlfriend both had round trip tickets.
Yeah.
What was that whole situation like?
It was crazy because like my mother wanted to come back and see family and everything because she hadn't been back in a while. My girl at the time, she had family that lived out in Queens in Rochdale.
Nice.
Rochdale
Okay.
Village. So she wanted to come. Obviously, she wanted to spend as much time with me as she could before it was over because we was together for at that particular time. I think it was around 3 years, something like that. And so, we just all wanted, I guess, just spend time together. And but like I said, I just had moments when we'd be sitting in my aunt's house because my aunt's old apartment, my cousin still lives. She has the apartment now, but over on East 26th Street between 1st and 2nd. That's like my old area. I have so many memories over there. I always say like that's my old block, East 26th Street between 1st and 2nd, building 444.
Like the album.
Yeah, 444. And and so with her view was crazy. She stayed on the 23rd floor, so the view was just crazy. And I remember just as a kid, I would just stare out that window and just get a view. And every time I come back visiting, I would always just look at that view, and it just motivated me on so many levels. And I just remember this particular time, looking out that window, knowing that I'm here now. Like, this is home now. This is where I live, where I'm gonna live, and it's time for me to see if I can make it in the concrete jungle. So it was, at that moment it was surreal, but it was different moments. Like when they were getting ready to leave, it was starting to hit like, I'm staying. And when my girl left, she was devastated. When my mom left, she already accepted what I wanted to do. And after they left, I felt things like just walking down the street and just, looking up at the buildings and just being like, I'm back. Like something that I always told myself I was going to do, never knowing how, never knowing when. But it's like, I'm back now. So I felt like one of my life goals checked, so that was huge for me. And 5.5 years later, I'm still here grinding.
That's what's up. Okay, so you said earlier that you had a great job, you had a great life over on the West Coast, you had a great job, and your master bedroom and all these things. But you said they were just material things that didn't matter to you.
Right.
So this is your passion. This is what you love. So what do you hope to get out of it? Like, where do you see yourself? Like, where is this all supposed to take you?
That's a good question, because like, I guess just to go back to living that life out there, like I had, like I said, I had a car and I had all of these things, and it would be moments where I come home, or I was already off. I was off, and I'm sitting on my couch. I had a huge $1,000 like ill green suede couch that I busted my ass to get. Because when I first moved to my apartment, I had nothing. I was eating canned food that was 2 years old. So I was struggling, you know what I mean? But I made, I got on my feet, was making money. And I remember a few times I would just be sitting on my couch, on my sectional. And, I'd have the lamp on and I got the TV on and I'm sitting there and I got my little frost glass table and I'm chilling. And I would just ask myself, I'm like, is this it? Is this what people who live on their own and settled in life, is this what they do? You check the mail, and I don't know. It didn't feel like this is supposed to be it. This is the end of the story, and something was missing. There'd be times where I'd drive to Walmart just to have something to do. It was like I didn't really know what, and I knew that something was missing. And so with just as far as where I want to go. As a young kid, I always, like when I first started rapping, my mindset was I wanted to be the biggest thing ever. I wanted to be the biggest name, just the biggest everything. But as you grow up and you realize this fame is nothing. None of that is important. I want notoriety. I want to be recognized as one of the best to ever do it. I want to create a core fan base. I want people to hear my music, be able to relate to it, and be inspired by it. And for that to translate to as many people as possible. If it's meant to be on a worldwide scale, I just pray that I'm given the strength to handle all of the things that come along with it, because I've learned just in my personal life that everything that glitters ain't gold. And
Very true.
So I think what a lot of people, especially the young generation, what they don't realize is they see these rappers and they see videos and they see people turning up and they see diamonds and everything like that, and they're drawn by that. They're enticed by that. And they see that and they're like, damn, I want to live that life. And they don't realize that 5-minute video that you've been watching, first of all, it's called entertainment. It's supposed to be that. So you're supposed to see women dancing and everybody having a good time because it's supposed to draw you in. But that video is 5 minutes long. You think that they're doing that for the remainder 23 hours and 55 minutes out of the day? Everybody goes through real life situations. Everybody goes through bullshit. And once I realized that that is not important. I want to go as far as I'm meant to go. If I'm meant to be the biggest name ever, great. If not, I just want to get to the point where I can make a living off of what I love doing. And I can have a fan base, a core fan base of people that when I put music out, people, they get it, they support it, and they love it. And that would be good enough for me, because look at artists like Chance the Rapper winning Grammys and no deal just off of having a core fan base. And there's so many other rappers who maybe haven't won Grammys, but their name is big right now just because of just people supporting them. Right. So that's my goal right now, just gaining real support from real people everywhere, and wherever we're meant to go, we go there together.
Okay. All right. So now you mentioned, of course, being out there, being the best and greatest thing ever. But then as you grew up and started to get more experience and knowledge, you just wanted to have a loyal fan base. Mm-hmm. If somebody had to like associate you in a certain type of group, because you got your Little Pumps type of rappers, then you got the Kendrick Lamars, the J. Cole's, Jay-Z's, the DMX's, Wu-Tang's, where would you feel like you fit?
I always, well, I can't say always, but, I'm a 90s baby, so I grew up, listening to Jay when he was on the come up, with Rockefeller, and listening to, and then, once you get to the 2000s era, listening to Ludacris and T.I. and Wayne and, and Fab and 50, listening to all these people, so... and then as the generation started to change, like when Drake came in and other artists came in, and now, it's a whole crazy new generation now. So originally, when I was really coming up and developing as an artist, it was about bars, like this is a new wave now. Now we're in the wave of turn up music and just music that people could just bounce to, and so hooks and everything or something that catchy. A lot of people don't really appreciate, real music. It still is appreciated from greats, but there's a lot of people who are trying to make it, and it's hard. So when I was, and I think any artist can relate, whether you do music or whatever it is, we all reach a point where we feel like we're trying to figure out how to fit in with the new movement that's going on, because it's different from what you might have came up in. And so I used to feel like, damn, I should have been born in the 80s, and because I should have been in the era when Nas and them was coming up, when everybody was just lyricists. I felt like that's the era I should have been in. But then me having the competitive spirit that I have, I'm like, I'm a fit in wherever era God put me in. And so this is the era that I'm in. So this is the era I'm gonna stand out. But my goal is to bring bars back and just bring that impactful music that hits you, but still be able to do it in different forms, because the greats like Jay-Z and the greats like Pac and Biggie, they're all versatile, so they can make a music for the club. They can make music for when you in the car, or make music when you in the hood, or you on the block, or just make music when you home, you got bills on your table. You're trying to figure out, you know, what you're gonna do, how you're gonna pay everything. So music that everybody in any mood can relate to. Music is like movies. You know, you have different settings for different emotions, and so that's what I want to do. You know, a lot of music is just kind of one dimensional now. So I'm still trying to make everything for everybody, but maintain true to myself as an artist. So, but yeah, like I felt like for a while, damn, I should have grew up. You know, I should have grew up in the 80s. That way I could have been, you know, rapping with Mobb Deep and all of them and just with the era of bars, because that's where I felt like that's where I was, because I was just so much of a lyricist and just focused on that. At first, it took me a while to kind of acclimate to, you know, the wave that we on now in 2018.
True. I feel like everything happens for a reason, because everybody knows when you do your research, the 80s, 90s, they call the 90s the silver age of hip hop. And you just had everybody. You had Jay, you had Nas, you had Tupac, you had Biggie, you had Wu-Tang, you had LL. The list goes on and on. So it wasn't a shortage of bars. That's when bars was the epitome. Either you had or you didn't.
Competition out there, yeah, and even with the West Coast movement, you know.
Oh, of course, NWA.
Because when I'm being out there, you hear a lot of West Coast music. So I gotta, and I think that's what a lot of people said as I got older. That because I used to always hate that I didn't grow up home, but like you said, everything happens for a reason. So I got a little bit of both worlds.
Yeah,
to be able
East
to
Coast, West Coast,
to be able to blend it and make it my own. So you know, listening to Ice Cube and listening to Snoop and then listening to Dr. Dre and just listening to all the ill West Coast rappers that was out. It was just having this flavor from both, and it was like, wow, like I had an abundance of just great music. And so, you know, it was a crazy era to grow up in and watch that. You know, a lot of people like in this generation have missed out on, because it was definitely a great era.
I'm glad you said that, because that actually brings me to the point I was about to make. You know, you had all these great artists from the 80s and the 90s, but these days it's really, some would say a shortage, but then I would say the focus light isn't really on the lyricists. It's more so for the turn up people. So this is, I feel, the age for the greats, like the lyricists that are coming up like yourself, to really push to the forefront and let it be known that lyrics is still matters, and you can still do it while still entertaining the people.
Right.
I feel like people get the feeling like, oh, if he has bars, he's just gonna bar us to death. It's like, nah, there's a time and a place for everything. Like you're good, you can do ciphers, but at the end of the day, we're not gonna get 15 tracks of a cipher. We're gonna get 15 tracks of entertainment. And you're gonna also tell us a little bit about yourself, but it's just also all about how you convey the information. And I think these days people are just so used to associating bars with like cipher and not being able to turn up to it, that they automatically turn it off. So I feel like the lane in what you're trying to do, especially with the music that I heard, you're definitely gonna like reawaken a lot of things that people may have been slept on about or didn't really have a good idea about.
Right.
And I think Finesse, is that the name of it?
Finessing. Yeah,
Finessing was a very perfect example. I hope we are able to play that or maybe a snippet of it.
Yeah, we could do a little snippet of
it. Yeah, because in the beginning I liked it because it automatically off the bat it sounded like New York.
Right.
Like not New York, but like what Fun Flex is talking about right now, because this New York sounds like everything else, every other state. But I'm talking about like 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, definitely.
But then also you transitioned, I think it was in more the second verse, where you actually had a little bit of the flow and delivery like Migos and everybody has now. So people are still bopping to it regardless of your age range. Like I'm an 80s baby, 90s kid, so I automatically was jumping to the first verse. Now, some people who are younger, they're probably going to bounce to be like, all right, he got bars, it's cool, they're not in the head. But it's that second verse is really going to hit them, and I'm like, oh, nah, he's really... Because like you said, it's versatility. You're able to switch the flow up.
And I feel like that's what great artists do, is you can do it in a way to where you can take something that's out there. It's all about being able to acclimate, being able to just, I can't even think of the word right now. It's on the tip of my tongue, but it's just being able to adjust. That's what it is. Being able to just adjust to whatever it is that's going on. If you look back in history, all of the greatest rappers, all of the greatest artists have been able to do that. You adjust to whatever is making money, to whatever is keeping people relevant. And so that's what you do. So I found a way to adjust, but not to completely switch, because you have a lot of artists who they came up on a certain style that was their own, and then, you know, they take a break for a while, they disappear, and then they come back, and it's a new generation, it's a new sound that's out, and then they try to adopt that, and it's adopted too much to the point where
it's not
they
even them
lose
anymore.
So I try to stay away from that. So it's all about just being able to adapt. But the key word, the key thing about being able to adapt is being able to make it to where it works for you. And so that's what I try to do, to show people that, yeah, I got bars, but I could also make you bounce. I could also make you, you know, bob your head, but I'm still spitting something. So when if a person's really listening, there's something being said behind it. It's not just words rhyming. There's a story. There's a whole process that's being explained to you, but in a way where you could bop your head to it. You could ride in the car to it. You can hear it in the club and just rock with it. And so that's what I'm trying to do, and kind of really bring back and put emphasis on, because a lot of people, they're just putting whatever together or just mumbling. You know, I have too much appreciation for the English language, and so I'm just trying to bring all of that substance back, but in a way where everybody can enjoy it. You know, not just the old generation, not just the new, but just a mixture of both. So that's what it's about.
All right. At this time, is it possible we can get into finesse? Because I don't want to get the crowd hyped watching this. It's like, all right, yo, this shit sounds dope. Where is it?
Yo, play something off of finessing. Whatever part you think is lit.
Right. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. Alright. I'll show you how to finesse 'em. I am finessing. I'm stacking paper, breaking bread, getting money till the day I'm dead. Pockets hungry, I keep them fed. Always been one step ahead. Always move forward, never fall back. Call me a trainer, I'm always on track. Gotta get cheese, I ain't never been a rat. Make money many ways so I won't get trapped. Much fuck shit, these dudes bought me. I been that nigga, you can't ignore. On the hook. That's a raw cut, one take, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, finessing, that's just something to put out for people, just to get them hype, you know what I mean? And what's crazy about this track is that the first part of that, the first half of it, is actually some bars that I actually did when I was 17. But they was still ill, and I always wanted to put it to something, and I heard this beat, and it was perfect. But the part when it comes into when I said, all 2017, I've been the hottest you ever seen, that was the new part. But everything before that was from almost 11 years ago. Okay. But because I stopped writing in April of 2007, and from that point in, I've just done everything in my head. So that was one of those. I've just memorized everything that I've done.
Okay.
So that was some bars from over 10 years ago that I still kept, and I was just waiting for the right, you know what I mean, something to put it on. And then I was like, but I got to put something new to it. So I changed a few little parts in the middle of that to kind of just keep it. Keep the flow going. Yeah, I had to spice up a little bit because there was a couple bars. It was like, nah, you know, that was hot 10 years ago, but not now. So I had to spice it up a little bit, you know, put my little on it. But after that, it was good to go. You know what I mean? So, and the hook is gonna be crazy. So look out for that. That's gonna be dropping real soon. Most definitely.
Listening to it now, because I was like, I'm gonna let everybody know I was in the bathroom, but I was still able to hear it. So when I came out, I definitely had to commend them, because, you know, a lot of people always try to say, like, yeah, this is what New York City sounds like. No shade to Flex. Although, you know, everything out right now doesn't sound like New York. It sounds like other states, and we just adopting it, and there's no originality. So that's why as soon as I came out, I had to commend you, because this is what New York sounds like. It is also the way the instrumental is. Sorry. Yeah. It sounds like a little bit of both East Coast and West Coast.
Yeah. The crazy thing is I heard this artist named Dreezy, and she had a crazy freestyle that she dropped to that beat on LA Leakers. I seen it on my feed on Instagram, and I didn't know who she was, but it's not a lot of dope female rappers out there, but she's one of the ill ones. And I heard her verse, and it was crazy. And I was like, yo, she finessed that beat. And in my head, I'm like, finessing. And I started coming up with something, because that's what I want to bring back, that competitiveness. Because it's not like I heard it and was like, oh, man, she killed it, and I get upset, anything. I got motivated, because I believe in, when you see people doing better than you or in a better position than you, you do one of two things. You either get mad or you get motivated. I choose to get motivated. So when I heard her verse, I was like, yo, I got to come up with something to embody that. And I came up with what I got. And I feel like people are going to like mine just as much, but I also have, you know, a verse, a hook I'm going to add to it to, like I said, finessing it. So it's going to be something I'm like, let me show people that I can make some music that they can bop to, because coming up, I had just one type of style, like when you go back to saying about with, you know, people that try to bar you to death. And I think the problem with some people who try to remain lyricists is that they stick too much to an old formula, you know, trying to rap to just, you know, the New York type beats, and which is fine, but sometimes it depends on your charisma as well. But sometimes it's just the format is too old, you know. And it's like sometimes you got to hit them with a little bit of new, but remind them of a little bit of old. And so that's what I try to do, because if it's just that one style that, you know, people heard years ago, it's going to be real hard to, you know, to draw people's attention, because it's something that they're already familiar with. And a lot of lyricists, me being one of them at one point, you know, we try to avoid the ad-libs. I don't care about none of that. I don't care about no hook. You just want to just get on it and body it. And that's good for a cipher. But, you know, you also got to be able to make hits too, something that people can put on repeat, so they want to listen to over and over, because that's what it's about. So you got to find a way to do it to where you adjust, you adapt to what's going on, but still put, you know, your own flavor on it as well, so that it still is you, and people can see that realness, and like, okay, I see they kind of sticking to this wave, but they staying true to themselves. Because I believe when fans hear that, they respect it, because once people feel like you're not true to yourself as an artist, that's when you lose them. Once you lose them, it's almost impossible to get them back. So.
Very true. Okay, so all right, let's talk about the absence that you took. You said before the interview you took 4 years off.
Yeah.
So what happened in that 4 years?
It wasn't that I wanted to take 4 years off. So going back to the story of when I came back out here, you know, the goal, I came back to New York to pursue my dreams, and so but because everything was different, I was supposed to work in the daytime, record at night, and get things lined up, and nothing went as planned. And so when nothing went as planned, I had to make those moves, and I was looking for a job, trying to work. So when I was able to get a job in 2013, I had to find a place, because I had been staying with my uncle for 6 months. I was only supposed to be there for 2 weeks, and so I had to move out. So I didn't realize until later on down the line, like, even though I wasn't doing what I wanted to do with my music at first with the plant, I was doing things that people been living out here their whole life haven't done. In less than a year, I'm living out in one of probably the most expensive city in the United States. I'm living on my own. Now I got a job, so I'm doing things in my personal life that I didn't even realize were accomplishments at that particular moment in time. But I got a place, I got a job, and so that's when I started looking for different things. And so I saw this flyer for this thing called a rapathon, and it was in Harlem. It was on right over there across the street from Harlem Hospital at the youth center. Right. And they was doing a thing called a rapathon, so they had auditions, and so you couldn't curse, and it was pretty much like Cypher. They put a beat, you rap, don't curse, show us what you got. And I went there, and I came with bars. They fell in love with me from the second they heard what I was spitting, and they was like, yo, we getting you on. So the whole concept, it was for the Harlem mothers, people like women who lost their children to gun violence. And so what the rapathon, like how you have a walkathon, the rapathon was going to be people rapping nonstop for 12 hours. And so that's what we did. And so we went down there, and it was just nonstop rapping. I mean, of course, like people would switch, but there was always somebody rapping. And so yeah, we was rapping for 12 hours straight. And so when we did that, I made connections from there. And I worked with I found my first engineer. Shout out to Kind Genius. A lot of people are familiar with him, and who was based out in the BX. I was working with him when he still had a studio in the basement of his house. You know what I'm saying? So I linked up with him, and I linked up with a few artists, and I worked on my first mixtape. And my first mixtape was originally going to be my first album. You know, when I was younger, trying to be the biggest artist in the world, I always tell people I plan 10 steps ahead. So even if I fall back, I'm 9 steps ahead of everybody else. So originally, I was always going to call my first album Just Getting Started. And so I decided to like I'm gonna make this a mixtape, and what it was a compilation of what I felt was the best freestyles in a 10-year span. So people that listen to Just Getting Started, some of the tracks that were on there were 5, 6, 7 years old, but I just put them on there, and it still sound good to this day. So I released my first mixtape, and it was all to industry beats, and I was on top of the world because it was like, now I'm doing what I wanted to do. So I had recorded by the end of 2013, my project was recorded. So the beginning of 2014, I think it was February 16th, 2 days after Valentine's Day, I released my first mixtape. I was on top of the world, and a few months go by, but as things was going on, I was having problems with my relationship. My ex and I, we weren't getting along. We weren't feeling each other no more. So what happened was the day after my birthday. My birthday is July 7th. So not knowing that 5 months after, you know, I'm on top of the world, I released my first project, not knowing that my whole life is about to change 5 months later. The day after my birthday, my girl wake me up, 6 in the morning. I just came home a few hours ago, faded, and she's like, well, you know, where do you see us? And I'm like, sleep. What are you talking about? You know? And so she's like, you know, like, are you in love? We were together for 5 years. This is the same chick that was on the came out with me. Right. But we had decided to try to work things out, so she flew back, and you know, we moved in together. And but we had just reached our relationship. You know, it's the old saying: people come into your life for a reason or a season, and our season was over. And so it was you know, she asked me, like, do you still want to be with me? I said, you know, I don't. And she was like, oh, I'm leaving, and she left that day. And you know, a little while later, she ended up leaving and moving back to Vegas. And you know, she couldn't pay her half of the rent because she had to get on a plane ticket back. So now I got to figure out how am I going to pay rent for 2 people. And so everything is on the back burner now. I had to get 2 jobs, and I was working 7 days a week for 10 months straight, and everything. And so as things were going on, I kind of just fell like into a depression, and I felt like I had lost my fire, and just working and having to put everything off. I wasn't working on nothing because all I had money for was to either buy food or pay a bill, and that was it. So I lost a lot of motivation. So 2015 comes, and the opportunity for me to just kind of leave one of my jobs, I was like, you know, I'm ready to leave this other job. So I left that job. It was just a commission job. I was just getting lunch money. I wasn't even getting anything, and I was working at Home Depot on Jamaica Avenue.
I used to work at the Home Depot on Valley Stream. That's crazy.
So yeah, so you know what I'm saying. So I'm a Queens nigga for real. You know what I'm saying. I was working over there for 3 years. You know what I mean. So if you've been in there, you know who I am. But I was working on Jamaica Home Depot. And, you know, the time came when I could make some money, you know, getting full-time hours for the summertime. So I'm like, it's time for me to get back. So I hit up a loose, Kind Genius, and ready to get back in the booth. And I had a song I was working on called First Place. Y'all might be familiar with it. It's on SoundCloud, you know, almost 3,400 streams, is doing well. So this is 2015. So I released First Place almost a year ago, but I originally worked on it, you know, almost 4 years ago, and I had it, and I was ready to work on my next project, and I went to record it, and I had that was probably the worst session I ever had. Everything came out wrong, and I felt so defeated when I left the studio. I felt like I started doubting myself. Is this meant for me? Is this what I'm supposed to do? You know, maybe all of this was a mistake. And so, you know, I felt like I said, I lost my fire. And then I was still struggling. I was living check to check, so I couldn't even get in the studio consistently. So most of 2015 goes by, and then towards the end of 2015, I came up on an event called 16 or Better. And so, yeah. Jack Phillips. Yeah, so I saw that. I saw a lot of the artists that they had on, and I'm like, these cats can't light a candle to what I can do. And I'm like, and I had came up with a crazy freestyle at the time, which I thought was like the craziest freestyle I had ever came up with. I felt like I was maybe starting to get my fire back. That hunger was trying to kind of climb back out of me. So I'm like, let me get us a shot. Let me go. And I was ready. I wasn't even worried about the audition. I was already thinking like, all right, what's going to happen when I win? I wasn't even.
Right.
So it's a cakewalk. I go there, and I go up, start rapping. About 10 seconds in, they stop me. Nah, stop. Do something else. Nah, don't spit that. And I'm just like, I'm like a deer caught in headlights, because in my mind I'm spitting the craziest shit that I've ever came up with. Y'all telling me to stop, like, you're not even letting me finish. So now I'm doing other freestyles. I'm spitting other bars, and they just not feeling it. And they're like, nah, I got rejected. And so I just remember, I just was like, my mouth literally was just wide open, and I just shook my head, and I just started walking out, because I just was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was in the twilight zone. And so as I'm walking out, one of the guys, he walked up to me, he's like, yo, you should stay. I'm like, for what? And he's like, because, you could watch how these other artists are doing it, because you could learn, because, like, you don't got it. And I'm just like, are you crazy? Like, they can't teach me nothing. You know what I'm saying? He was like, you got to find yourself. And so I was really defeated after that. And because I had never had that type of rejection. And because I wasn't prepared for any type of rejection, I didn't know how to act. And so November comes, 2015. I'm just trying to figure out. I'm upstairs sweeping, and I'm just like, all right, Rome, what you got to figure some shit out, because you haven't done really nothing with the music this year. You haven't performed anywhere. You got rejected with this 16 or better. Like, things are not going well. And, just you living check to check. What are you going to do? And I started thinking, like, I'm that same nigga that sold all my shit and, saved up money and quit my job and bought a plane ticket and flew 3,000 miles to chase a dream. Like, I had to get back in my bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've always done whatever it takes. So why am I making excuses? Why am I saying, I don't want to work 2 jobs? Or, 2015, I'm out just chasing females and trying to have fun, and I was distracted. I wasn't focused. And so I'm like, I need to make money. And so in the wintertime, they cut Christmas trees up there, and I'm like, I can make good tip money. So I'm gonna save up my tips. And when the new year come, 2016, I'm gonna if I gotta look for another job, I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to make shit happen. And December comes, December 7th, 2015. We're unloading the truck, trees, and a metal beam falls on my foot. I thought my foot was broken. I go to the hospital. My toe is fractured, but the joint, hairline fracture, the worst place you can have a fracture. I go to the podiatrist, and tells me I can't walk for the next 2 months. So I'm just like, yo, God, like, why are you playing with me? I'm looking up like, this is the worst thing that could happen to me.
Right.
And so now I'm just stuck. And I used to have 3 days off when I was working, when I was working 2 jobs and I quit. I kept the 3 days I had off. And when I had them 3 days off, I used to be sitting in the house. It just got to the point because I had no motivation. I'd be sitting in the house in the dark for 3 days straight. Somebody called me up like, yo, Ron, what's the weather like? I don't know. I haven't been outside in 3 days. And so I wasn't really necessarily depressed. I just had no motivation. Now, what's crazy was, now here I am, and at first, the first few days, I'm sitting there like, what's going on? I can't walk. I had this game plan. That's all shot out the window. And then I started having time to think. And I started to realize, like, when I wake up, I don't have to worry about work. I don't have to worry about bills. I have to worry about all of these things. And I started, what turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me, because it wasn't really an injury. It was just the time that it gave me. I got a chance to really just reflect on my life and on things I felt that I made mistakes on, and just kind of hit the reset button. And what's crazy was here I go from having 3 days off and not going out, feeling like a caged animal, to now I can't go anywhere, and I never felt more free. And so I started I just started plotting, what am I going to do when the new year hit, when I get on my feet? And I started thinking about songs. I started finding beats. I started coming up with material, and it was just flooding, and my relationship with God got better. And I started, my whole mindset changed. I developed the mindset of happiness is an illusion. Everybody's out chasing happiness. It's not real. It's a mindset. If you think happy, you'll be happy. And so I decided I'm not going to allow things that I have no control over to affect me. I'm not going to entertain negativity, because I believe in manifestation. So if you think negatively, you're going to manifest it. If you think positively, you're going to manifest it. And so when 2016 comes, I get back on my feet in February 2016. I go back to work. I was actually making more money on workers' comp than I actually am going back to work. And then, but one of the guys told me about this job, a driving job, and he told me about it, and I decided, let me give it a shot. And I get that job. Next thing you know, I'm making more money now than I ever made with any of my jobs. And now I went from paying my rent to having maybe $2 in my account until the next paycheck, to now I pay my rent and I still got my rent in my account. And it was just crazy for me and I was so financially, I was back. And then so 2016 ended up being the best year of my life, because 2016 I started getting, I went and had a bunch of performances. I had performances at the H2O Lounge that used to be on Hillside. It's closed down now.
Yeah, I remember that. I used to go there too.
That was my first performance that I had for 2016 back in March. And I wasn't even supposed to perform. I went there because I had just got back on my feet, so I had no music, no material, and I was just going there just because Kind Genius was saying you should come through, and I came up and they was having a cipher. He's like, yo, get on the cipher. I get on there, killed it, and the people on the stage, the DJs wanted me to get on the stage and just rock with them. There's cats who's performing, they can't even get on the stage with the DJ, and I'm on the stage just rocking because I had the craziest bars in there. So I was just getting back in my zone, and I was looking at different things, and I was like, it's time for me to get back. And I started making moves, and I started recording. I got, and then it got to a point where I was working with Kind G's, and I just felt that our chemistry in the booth, it just wasn't, my vision, I felt like it wasn't being met, and I felt like it was time for me to move on and find a new engineer. So I took a few months off. So to just try to find a new engineer, and I really kind of like reviewed people and studied and just looked to see who I felt might match my chemistry and meet my vision. And I came across Gio the Rican, and Sonny Blue Note, and Sonny Blue Note Studios. And I would say in like November 2016, I came here for the first time, and that's when they had the microphone in the corner right here. And I got on, and I still had first place. I wanted to record it. And I changed up the bars, changed up some things, tweaked it up, and we recorded it. And when I heard it, I recorded that song 4 times because I knew it wasn't right. And we got it, and it was crazy. 2017 comes, it was just working on music and just working on. So it was a process. I didn't really honestly get on my feet till 2016. I came in 2012, and I honestly wasn't financially stable till 2016.
Yeah, it sounds like
but when I look back on the journey, there was still a lot of things that I did. I was living on my own. I was taking care of things, and I also learned a lot just from my personal life. I gained a lot of knowledge and experience as a man, and so I was able to apply that with my approach now. And so now, I was looking back before I released this track, Walk the Walk. I was having a game plan. We were sitting right up in here with Sonny and Gio, and I was telling them, I'm doing this track, but I really want to promote this track, and I just want to get to the point where, I'm starting to build a fan base. So I'm going to start releasing more music, because I only released 1 track in 2017. I'm like, I need to get my image up. I need to do some videos now, because I did 2017. I did a cypher with my mans right here. Breeze, Mr. On My Way Up. You know what I'm saying? We did ciphers in the Bronx. Shout out to, shout out to 16 Bars of Real Rap. Shout out to Gilly, everybody. So when I still was trying to work on my music, they helped me build my image up with the ciphers. I did my first music video. So I was getting that competitive, and I was getting that hunger back, because I was with animals who had bars, and so it helped me get back in my zone. And so now the game plan for 2018 was, I need to book out my month, and I need to go as hard as I can possibly go. I need to try to always line up shows, radio. That's why I got you here, and just do track after track and just pursue it as hard as I can. Because one thing I always used to ask myself during that 4-year gap was, if I had to go back tomorrow, would I feel like I did everything I could while I was out here? And if the answer was no, I knew that I would be devastated. My father always taught me there's no greater disappointment than self-disappointment. So when I realized that I felt like, okay, I didn't do enough, I looked at the hand I was dealt. There was things that I did do well, but there was things that I could have done better. But instead of blaming myself, I looked at, okay, well, this is my second chance. Now I have this knowledge. Let me apply it. And so that's what I'm doing now, and you see me here.
That's a fact. Now, with all that being said, with all the knowledge,
don't need to talk y'all to death. Sorry.
No. Yo, listen, this is great. Like, the camera loves you. This is
Appreciate it.
like there's nothing better than realism.
Appreciate it.
It's not like, oh, you know, this fictitious life that everybody tries to portray.
Yeah,
this is real shit.
It's a grind.
Anybody that's lived in New York knows everything that you're talking about.
It's a grind because a lot of people see, you know, some people ask you how you hit 20,000 streams and for this track, and it's like you have to visualize whatever you want to do. Visualize it, speak it into existence, because even if it doesn't go exactly as you plan it out, if you see great things, you just push yourself. My whole motto, if you go on my Instagram, @OneRome_Empire, it says "Last of the Greats," and I tell people it's not a nickname. It's a lifestyle. It's a mindset. Because when I had my moments where I felt like I wanted to give up, I had to remind myself I'm great. Everything I do is great, and it's not to belittle anyone. It's not to be cocky. It's to try to get the best out of myself, to always remind myself I'm great. Be great. Treat it as if you're the last one, you're the last great one doing it. And so we all have the potential to be great. So whether it's the way you treat people, whether it's the way you grind, or you make music, or you dance, whatever it is, be great at it and do it like you're the last great one doing it, because we all have the potential to be great. And so that was my mindset, because I had to tell myself, nobody, if you don't think you're great, you can't expect no one else to. And so that's my motto. And so I just started pushing forward with that. And, you know, so when I'm doing the music, it's like, it's a grind, it's a process. People just see when you blow up, but they don't see what you go through behind it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They see, oh, making great music now and you're doing things now, but you don't see it was a 4-year gap. It was hard times, and I had to figure things out and get back to the drawing board. And sometimes you have to go through things and get that experience so that you can make a harder approach for the future.
Okay. So now with your new project, what are we going to get? Are we going to get a recap of everything that you've been through? Or are we going to get more foresight of where you're trying to go? Or are we just going to get, you know, everything that's going on with you right now in the present?
The dope thing about this project, the project is called The Preview. So like I said, me being a plotter, when it was 2015 and I was still, when I was injured, I was laying in my bed trying to figure things out. I decided to come out with a project called Breakout Season. And because I felt like it was time for me to break out. It was time for me to break out as an artist and try different music, try, a different sound, and just to kind of reinvent myself as an artist. And so I was coming up with all original music, original hooks, everything. But as time went on through 2016 and 2017, I realized, like, I can't expect to put out this track and expect to get crazy recognition or crazy feedback if I need to have, some groundwork. I need to have a track record. And so I need to build my rep up. So I decided, let me give people a preview. And I was like, that's a dope title. So I decided to come up with the preview. And the preview is still going to be original music, but it's going to be some parts that were supposed to be on Breakout Season. So some of the stuff that you're going to hear on the preview is stuff that I was going through. It might not even be going through it right now, but things I was going through, and it's still music I want y'all to hear because it's real. It was the first time I was making music that was not just about bars. I was actually telling stories, and I was actually doing something that people could really relate to. So with the preview, it's a little snippet of just, me regaining my hunger, the times where I doubted myself as an artist, and then just showing people that I believe that I'm the best out here doing it. And then a few other tracks just to keep up with, the current times of the new wave and the new era of hip hop that we in. So it's a preview of what's to come for Breakout Season. Okay,
wow, that's what's up. That's great. At this time, we're gonna be closing out. But before we go, we have to know when can we expect the preview, and also where can we find you and the rest of your music?
The preview. It's still being recorded right now, but I think the goal is, you got this on now. So look, we got to try to get the preview ready to go by the summer. So summer 2018, the preview needs to be ready. I'm gonna be dropping a few tracks just to keep people fed. You know what I mean? To keep people hyped. But the preview, my goal is probably around the time for my birthday, drop the preview. So around early July, beginning of July, that's the goal, to get the preview out. And by that time, I have a video or two just to have, just some groundwork, have people hyped for. So the summer. And as far as me, like I said, on my Instagram, it's the #1 Rome, ROME_Empire. On SoundCloud, it's the same thing, one Rome_Empire. On Twitter, it's _Rome Empire. And on Facebook, it's Rome King, and then the Facebook page is I Am Rome. So that's it, man. And on YouTube, it's Rome, I believe it's Rome NY212. You could check. That's what's gonna be part of my legacy years from now. Some old freestyles I dropped back in the day. If you love them, great. If you hate them, great. You know what I'm saying? Because the good thing is if you don't like the previous stuff that I have that's already out, what's great about it is you'll see the growth now that I've grown so much as an artist. And on that piff, Rome, just getting started. So just spell it just like that. Just getting started. Rome. That's my first mixtape that's out. 14 tracks. It's a classic. So that's it, man.
Okay, so do you have any last words? Any shout outs?
I want to shout out. Got to shout out to you, Blackout, for being here.
Much appreciated.
And,
no problem.
Shout out to Queens. Shout out to all of New York. Because at the end of the day, I really do it for all of New York. I do it for the whole East Coast.
Nigga, because you lived all of New York.
Word.
You're only missing Staten Island.
Shout outs to Brooklyn. Shout outs to Harlem. Shout out to the Heights. Shout outs to everybody in the BX. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody in Queens. You already know how we do it. Shout out to everybody that's in Yonkers and Long Island, Staten Island. We can't forget about y'all. Jersey. Also, shout out to Kind Genius for being the first engineer to work with me. And even though we had some rough sessions, it's still all love because a lot of the connections that I got through him, just networking with him. So I appreciate that. And shouts out to Gio the Rican. Shout out to Sonny Blue Note for just vibing with me and always like giving me real feedback and just working with me and help me put out the music that I make now. Shouts to my boy right here, Mr. On My Way Up. You know what I'm saying? Just for supporting and being real, because that's another thing is a lot of artists don't support other artists. You know what I mean? So, and shouts out to my man Gilly for hooking us up with the 16 bars of real rap. Shouts out to them, man. I appreciate everybody that gave me some type of platform to be on. Shouts out to my boy Extra, put me on his remix, Hit the Gas remix. That's out on SoundCloud as well. And shouts out to I'm trying to remember the name. This bar on DeKalb in Brooklyn, and they I think it's called City Nights or something like that. I might be getting it wrong, but we used to perform there and shut it down, and I appreciate them, giving me that platform. And everybody from, if y'all still around, everybody from the Rapathon 6. That's where it all started. So shouts out to all of them, man. And my mom's, my father for just creating me so I could give y'all this greatness. You know what I mean?
Okay, so now, last words for your fans and also last words for upcoming artists that are looking up to you for guidance.
Just for the fans, for anybody that's becoming a fan, I appreciate it because anybody that's an independent artist knows that you get in support, man, it can be hard. That's one thing that's always been difficult is really just gaining real, true support from people. There's so much hate going on. A lot of people don't want to support. So anybody that's supporting what I'm doing and rooting for me and wants to see me get as far as I can make it, I appreciate it. And I'm going to always try to deliver y'all quality. Now, I'm not trying. I'm always going to deliver y'all quality. And then for people that's looking up, just stick to you. Remain true to yourself. And don't always try to follow what else is going on. Always listen to your first mind. And sometimes if things happen and you feel like you're falling off, everything happens for a reason. I'll leave y'all with this. One of the greatest sayings that I've ever heard was experience or good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. So that's what I live by. If you make mistakes, you're going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. And sometimes you have to go through, adversity to help you get to a plateau that you didn't even think you could reach, because it's all about experience and wisdom. The more knowledge you have, the more understanding you have about how shit works behind the scenes. Don't just go after everything. It's just an image. Some people are just trying to just maintain an image. So just be true to yourself and just always try to grind and visualize. Because if you can't see it, can't expect anybody else to. So that's it.
And with that being said, this is Blackout the Rebel. This is Dark Side Radio. You can always catch us live every Monday, 8:30 to 10 on WVMradio.net. The website, which will premiere this fantastic interview, you'll see is darksideradioNYC.com. This is Rome once again, the very talented Rome himself.
Last of the greats.
Right here in Blue Note Studios.
Yep.
Shout out to them. This is a very lit ass studio up here in the Bronx.
So yeah, if y'all looking for studio time, it's 30 an hour, 3 hour minimum.
420 friendly.
Yeah, 420 friendly. You know what I'm saying? Joint Chiefs, they doing their thing. So look out for their music, because that shit is crazy. So if you're looking for a vibe, if you're looking for an atmosphere where you can get in your zone and be able to work with people that will actually take the time and not just sit there and try to mix your music, actually engage with you and your music and your craft, this is where you want to come. BX, Sunny Blue Note Studios. That's how we do.
All right. And we are out.